Well, morning. I'm back from vacation. This last one for the year. Well, I may do another one over the holiday season, but I don't know if I call that vacation as much as visiting family. But I am... today I prepared some thoughts on GLP-1s. I've not commented on GLP-1s in a minute, and my opinions of them have continued to evolve since they've hit the market and become a thing. And I've been sort of trying to consistently comment on GLP-1s a couple times a year, 2 or 3 times a year, especially as my opinions of them have shifted and changed. I have a unique exposure to them by nature of what I do for work. And so I get to talk to a lot of people that use them. I get to talk to a lot of people that use them and stop, people that use them and keep using them, people that never use them. I like to ask people their opinions about them and find out what they like, what they don't like. And I try to, of course, have my own opinion, but also keeping my mind open to allowing my opinion to shift and change regarding GLP-1s, because I don't want to be so close-minded that I don't do it. So I just realized I didn't update the topic card. So my opinion on GLP-1 meds, and this is my July 2026 update of this opinion. So I will more than likely make another one of these in the future as my opinion continues to shift and change. I don't see any reason to think my opinion is not going to shift and change. I mean, as an example, there's now a pill form. I don't know much about that yet. I'll know a little bit. My opinion takes into account the economics of GLP-1s, and because that affects how people use them, and also just as more and more people use them in society, I get a better sense of like how they're being used. And so anyway, if you like this, be sure to subscribe, hit the notification bell. You'll be notified when I go live. And I would be curious to hear from, if any of you are on a GLP-1, let me know in the comments if you're on them, what you think. I'd love to hear what you think about the opinions that I'm sharing with this. I think it's good that we allow ourselves to have opinions that shift and change, and we don't get so close-minded that we don't allow ourselves to consider new things as they come out with it. So I thought I would start off with talking about how I was first exposed to GLP-1s. So I had already lost all my weight, but no knowledge of GLP-1s. And I'd started coaching. And at the time when I first started coaching, all I coached on was tactics. I helped people that wanted to lose weight through calorie tracking. I knew how to calorie track. I knew how to set targets. I knew some behavior things people could do. But it was 2021, my first client, and who was using something called Wegovy at the time. And at the time, almost nobody else around had heard about GLP-1s. They were starting to kind of hit the market right at this time. People were starting to become aware of GLP-1s at this time, but it was not by any stretch widespread. Like the person said, I'm on a GLP-1, and I'm like, don't know what that is. And I had to start looking into it. I was like, oh, wow, this looks interesting. This seems too good to be true. At first, it wasn't. But, and so again, I was still developing my emotional eating coaching program, the more holistic approach to weight loss. And so I was just coaching on the thing I was comfortable with at the time, which was just the tactics. And I noticed that the client... by the way, if you see me looking down, it's because I got my notes. I want to make sure I cover everything. But I noticed the client easily ate less than the calories that were assigned. So the person, we would work together, I would teach them how to come up with a calorie target that puts them at a moderate calorie deficit. And the person was usually coming in well below that. And I'm like, are you hungry? They're like, no, not really. And I was like, wow, this is crazy. The person's like, just not hungry at all. Like, not even a little bit. It's like, it's really easy. And I just remember thinking like, okay, well, this is kind of wild. I've not experienced this yet. And And I just really kind of just felt like I didn't really have much value to add to the person, because I was like, well, we don't even really need to set calorie targets, because like you're just listening to your body and you're coming in well below and actually eating at a pretty big calorie deficit. Actually, I thought it was too big. I was some person like, I think you should eat more food. It seems too low. But I mean, I guess if I had to put it simply, it was pretty amazing at how well it worked for the person. And then I started having more clients I was working with starting to use it. Now, at the time, it was very expensive and insurance wasn't covering it for a lot of people, most people. And if you were getting on it, you were getting like coupons, you were getting vouchers, you were getting discounts. And like, so a person would go on it for like 3 to 6 months, and then like the price would skyrocket to like $1,100 a month, which of course most people can't afford. And so they would stop. And what I started noticing was after they went off of it, the person would describe a return of hunger. Now the people of the world tend to call it food noise. They started noticing the food noise come back, then they would say like it comes back with a vengeance. Now, what I don't know, I have a hypothesis, is that I don't actually think it comes back stronger than before. I think there's just an extreme contrast. I think it went from like there was a certain level of food noise a person was used to, and then it was gone. They got used to it being gone. And then when it came back, they now realize like, wow, I don't think I realized just how much hunger food thoughts there were in my head. And so I think a person thinks it comes back worse, but I don't think it does. I just have anecdotal exposure to talking to people about it. And I've been kind of creating this hypothesis. I'm like, I don't know that it's extreme. I haven't tested that yet and haven't seen any. I have not come across any studies looking into that yet. But the one thing that was consistent is when a person would go off of it, the food noise would come back. We'll just go ahead and say food noise, but just mental preoccupation with food. But we got to remember, food noise is two things. It's like I start eating and then I have to stop eating. And so when a person on a GLP-1, like they would get hungry and start eating, but they would get that satiated, I don't want food feeling really fast. So they could push food away because they just didn't want it anymore. And so like one of the things that I work with people on is part of my coaching is learning how to push food away when you still want to keep eating it. Like that's a really essential thing to know how to do. But if you don't ever want to keep eating, you can't ever practice that feeling. And there's just one example, but essentially when a person was on a GLP-1, they were getting zero practice of interacting with food with more normal hunger cues and signals. And a lot of times a person was thinking their hunger cues are normal or abnormally high, when actually they're not. And so it was just one of these things. It's like, okay, they didn't know what to do with food in the presence of the feelings of wanting to eat. And so when a person would go off the medication, like every single person I've worked with, when they go off of it, they immediately gain weight back. And it's not because their metabolism changed, not at all. It's because they didn't know how to handle it and they started eating more. They just started eating more. And like that was a major part of it. And so let's check in on the comments real quick. Let's just see if any, by the way, chime in with any comments that you have about this. I definitely want this to feel kind of like a discussion, but let's see. I see Tiffany saying, oh, hold on. Why is it not put in the comment where I could, hold on. I don't know why it does this, where it like resets where the comment shows up. I don't have issues with diabetics using them, but I don't want to use one for weight loss personally because I know I'm capable of losing weight without it and don't want to take it from someone else. Okay, it's a fair point. It does come back stronger, trust me. Well, again, maybe it does, maybe it doesn't, but from the people that I've spoken with, it doesn't seem like it comes back stronger than it was before. Maybe it does, but from my exposure, it seems like it's coming back just basically from a baseline of 0 to right back to where it was. The only way I can think of to describe it, so I take Adderall for my ADHD. When the Adderall's working, the symptoms of ADHD go away. When the Adderall's off, they come back. But it doesn't, but they come back just as much as they were before. And I can feel this contrast. So that's sort of my thoughts now. Let's see, your body doesn't feel hunger and get full quickly while on it once the drug leaves your body. Yeah, no, that's a big part of it. And then we can't forget that you lose weight so fast, the body will fight back. And yes, it will fight back like a mother effer. Kind of, yeah. I mean, the whole body fighting back thing's interesting because it does do that. The body does do that. But there's also the mind fights back too. And the GLP-1 definitely works on the mind fighting back part. So again, chime in on the comments if with anything I'm saying. I said I'd love to get your thoughts as we're continuing to talk about the GLP-1s. But so as I was saying, I would notice that when clients would go off of it, their hunger would come back and they would immediately start eating. Like I've had multiple clients when they come off of it, they gain back like 10, 15 pounds in a matter of weeks. And it's not just water weight. Like they describe like this insatiable hunger. But I'm like, yeah, but I get to work with people that aren't on GLP-1s in the beginning, and their description, and when we do hunger studies, their description of their food noise sounds exactly the same as a person coming off a GLP-1. It does not seem any different. And that's the thing that's really important to know. It is not any different. It's not any different sounding to me when I talk to a person, like the levels of intensity, the kinds of vocabulary they're using, the way they feel like they need to act. That's why I don't think it is actually more intense than before. I think there's just more conscious awareness of paying attention to it. But that being neither here nor there, the thing that is completely true is the food noise comes back and a person doesn't know what to do with it. And they have had no practice dealing with food noise. They haven't done any work with it. Now, the other things that I've noticed with those that go on GLP-1s is many people now don't make the lifestyle changes that would result in a more sustained weight loss over time and that also provide the health benefits. So for anybody that's new here, for my programs and the way I approach things is I'm seeking to help everybody accomplish what I call the core 4 goals, which is becoming thin, healthy, happy, and in shape. My objective is to help everybody I work with accomplish all 4 of these: thin, healthy, happy, and in shape. A lot of people, like when they say like, well, I don't want to be thin, I want to be healthy. I'm like, okay, well, fine, but that's not the same thing. You know, a lot of people, they want to say healthy, but they mean thin. And a lot of people say thin, but they mean healthy. And I'm like, well, no, let's just split those up. They're 2 different things, right? And then we have happy and we have in shape. And the reason why that's important to mention is a lot of people go on a GLP-1, and a GLP-1 helps a person become thin. A GLP-1 does not help a person become healthy. It does not help a person become happy, and it does not help a person become in shape. Because trust me, the novelty of being thin wears off. Does losing weight make you happy? Sure, for a little bit, but it's not a lasting, permanent happiness. It's like saying money's going to make you happy. Money is not going to provide you long-term, lasting happiness. It doesn't work that way. And so, but a GLP-1 could 100% make you become thin. Yeah, and it can do that, and it can give you that long-term very effectively. And so I've noticed that many people will only exercise, for example, or go on regular walks if they're losing weight. It is not unusual that if a person hits a plateau, they actually start easing off and doing less of the activities that were creating the weight gain, the weight loss, because they were only doing it to lose weight. That was the sole motivator for doing it, to lose weight. Right? And so if a person's like, well, hey, I can lose weight and I don't need to do any exercise, why would I start exercising? Because I don't like exercise, and I'm only going to exercise if it's going to make me thin. And if I don't need to exercise to be thin, why would I start exercising? And I see people do this a lot. A lot. It's actually a chronic problem with people that are going on GLP-1s is they don't exercise. Why would they? They don't need to. They do need to for the other 3 goals, but not to become thin. And the thing about a GLP-1 is what it reveals to many people is many people actually want to be thin. They just don't want to say it. They just don't want to say it. They don't want to say it. And so they try to convince themselves they're happy being big when they're not. And the thing is, I'm like, your size has nothing to do with your happiness. But, it is connected. It is integrated. They do affect each other. And so, but a person goes on a GLP-1 like, oh, well, I can be thin. Now everything's going to be better. And so that's the other thing I've noticed is like, they think it's like that somehow it's going to just fix all their problems in life. And it's not. And the thing is, like, one of the integral parts of my programs and how I approach weight management is we have to learn to like exercise. Like, learning to like exercise is important. Like, I don't know any in shape people that don't exercise. Every in shape person I know exercises to various types of exercise, but they do it regularly, ongoing, forever. And so it's like, okay, well, if you want to be an in shape person, we need to figure out how to like exercise. And we need to figure out reasons to exercise that have nothing to do with managing your weight. Because if you only exercise to manage your weight, you're not going to keep, it's too hard to keep exercising. And so GLP-1 doesn't kind of force a person to do that. Much like a GLP-1, when you go on a GLP-1, it doesn't force a person to learn how to listen to their hunger. It doesn't force a person to learn how to be around food while being hungry. It doesn't force them to do that. And so because of that, it makes it where people don't. So it doesn't compel a person to exercise, so they don't. Creating other problems, which we'll talk about in a minute. Same thing happens with walking. A lot of people go on GLP-1s and they don't need to walk. They don't need to go on walks. Well, a person on the other side of your journeys, I tell everybody, is you need to have a walking habit and an exercise habit. That's why I really draw a stake, put a line in the sand that walking is not exercise. Walking is walking. You need to walk and you need to exercise. Can you make walking exercise? Yes. Yes, you can. But walking is not exercise. Walking is walking. It is neat movement. Walking is more important than exercise. Much more important than exercise. But you need both. You need both. And just like you have cardio and strength training, which is better for weight loss. Strength training. It's better to do both. But if you're only going to do one, do strength training. Strength training is better, for the two. So, but it's better to have some cardio, some strength training, and walking. It's better to have all three. But if you're going to only do one at a time, do walking, strength training, cardio. Do it in that order. But on a GLP-1, much like exercise, why focus on it? Don't need to. I can lose weight without having to do it, so I won't. And so a person doesn't develop a walking habit. And they're basically only losing weight by reducing food. And I don't like that because that's not a holistic approach to weight loss. That doesn't teach a person how to manage their weight. That just reduces their food intake. And you can lose weight by just reducing food intake, but that's a one-trick pony, right? That's not a sustainable plan. The other challenge that I see that people have when they go on GLP-1s is a GLP-1 essentially takes away the urge to eat and gives you that feeling of satiety. It's like, ugh, I don't want food. Like, I just don't want it. But if a person's an emotional eater, now what? Right? When you have to deal with emotional eating and you're having the feelings are a signal that something's going on in your life that needs your attention. Many people say I'm hungry when they're actually stressed. They say, I'm hungry. No, you're stressed. People say I'm hungry when they're anxious. I'm hungry when I'm lonely. I'm hungry when I'm sad. I'm hungry when I'm angry. Like, they say I'm hungry when they're feeling a feeling and their body is just trying to turn to something to manage the feeling. And our person has begun to use their food as their drug, which isn't great. And a GLP-1 just takes away the urge to use the drug, but it doesn't address the cause. So if a person was gaining weight because they were in a miserable marriage and a miserable job and their health is out of sorts, and they now can start losing weight, maybe their health will get better, maybe. But also, what's to make them deal with the job and the miserable marriage? Those need to be addressed. Maybe the person has some trauma that is affecting their lives, and that's why they emotionally eat, and they've never turned and dealt with that. The GLP-1 doesn't fix any of that. It doesn't deal with the cause of emotional eating. Many people think the cause of emotional eating is I'm addicted to food. I just have too much food noise because there's something wrong and broken with my body. That's not true. That's not how it works. But we don't know that. And so I've had to learn that. That's why I now have emotional eating sit at the center of how I do so many things, because we have to first create awareness to what is emotional eating. Like, my signature course for emotional eating is understanding and overcoming emotional eating. It begins first with awareness to what is emotional eating, why am I doing it, and am I doing it? And so many people go through the program and they're like, I'm not an emotional eater. Maybe a little bit. And they come out, they're like, oh, wow, no, I definitely am an emotional eater. And you've got to deal with that, because if you don't deal with the cause of emotional eating, it'll just be waiting for you when you're done losing weight. And a lot of people go on a GLP-1, and then they plan to come off of it. And the thing is, I see people lose weight all the time, and then their emotional eating comes back. Like, it's a big deal. Like, a big part of my programs now are to cause people to confront their emotional eating as early as possible, so that we have as long as possible to begin working on it. Because it is very easy to lose weight and still leave emotional eating intact, because dieting and losing weight doesn't solve emotional eating. It is a separate problem that needs to be dealt with. It would be like saying paying off debt solves the reason I got into debt in the first place. No. Paying off debt gets you out of debt, but paying off debt might actually enable you to keep getting into debt. And so it doesn't solve the problem. And that's what happens with many weight loss approaches, and a GLP-1 is not immune to this at all. So first I want to talk a little bit about like the history, and then like some of the challenges I see. Now, I do in fact think some people in some situations I think some people are perfect candidates for going on a GLP-1. I actually do. I have recommended to people to use them multiple times, where I'm like, I think you should use a GLP-1. I've had many a person on a GLP-1, and they have this shame about it, and we talk about it. I'm like, no, I think it's the right move. Like, in my opinion, I think you're doing the right thing. I've also had people where I've told them, I'm like, I don't think you should. I'm like, I don't think you, because I don't think you, I'm going to get into it, but I don't think you've done the things that might make a difference. I think you're taking a shortcut. The thing is, some people are taking a shortcut, and we're going to talk about it. GLP-1 is a shortcut for a certain thing. It is. But let's talk about first where I think some people are great candidates for a GLP-1. Now, understand, this is not like, if this fits you, you definitely should do it. That's not what I'm trying to say. What I'm trying to say is, if you're in this situation, I kind of get it. One of them is people that are older, 65, 70, 75, 80, 85. Because if you're already 150 pounds overweight and you're 65, like, mobility is hard, and you need sort of a boost. And a GLP-1 can really just solve the food part for you. When you're older, you can tend to have pretty deeply ingrained belief structures around emotional eating. For some people, it's been a coping strategy now for 50 years. They may not have 6 years to overcome this. When a person's 32, it's like, big fucking whoop. It's going to take you 6 years to overcome this. Like, who cares? You're young. You're a baby still. I mean, when we're 32, 35, and we take years and years and years and years and years to fix it, that's fine. You've got a lot of life left, right? It's okay. But when you're older, like, you kind of need to start being a little bit intentional with the years that you have. And it's like, well, I may just not want to take 4 years to putz around with this. And it's like, I may be signing up to be on a GLP-1 forever, but this is going to sound so morbid. But it's like, but I'm talking 15 years. 15 years is different than 50. And so I think it's just something to think about. So for some people that are older, I think it actually makes sense. They may be in pretty bad shape. They may have genuine, real mobility issues that are going to make weight loss really, really hard. And they need a little extra boost to help offset the extreme limitations that they may be facing. The other category of people are people that have 300 plus pounds to lose. Because if you have over 300 pounds to lose, you're going to be on this journey for a long, long time. And for some people, not all, some, they may benefit from going on a GLP-1 for a couple of years, losing 200 of that 300 pounds, titrating off of it, and then peeling off the last of it without the GLP-1, because then they can still do the work. I mean, it took me 26 months to lose 125 pounds. And I feel like I did that as fast as I could, doing it slowly. Like, I don't really think I could have gone much faster. I was about a pound a week on average when I factor in my intentional maintenance breaks. And so it's like, that's a pretty solid weight loss rate. You could do two, but like, it might be easier to get the first few 100 pounds off, titrate off, and then do the work of how do I deal with emotional eating. And so, work and the food noise work, it might be easier to do that after you've, because I think doing it while losing weight is still helpful. So I think for some people, but not everybody, right? Some people are like, yeah, no, but I don't mind. I can do it. I can do this for 6, 7 years. I don't need the GLP-1. So again, this is the one where I'm saying just because a person is 300 plus pounds, I'm not saying you definitely should do it. I'm not saying that. I'm saying though I would certainly see that as a reason that makes a lot of sense to me. The other one that I've run into, and this is a niche one that I've only run into a handful of times, and it's almost always been lawyers and accountants, where they're chained to a desk for like 12 to 16 hours a day. Like they can't get up and move, and using a walking pad is kind of hard for that kind of work. And they have to be fully mentally engaged in what they're doing. Gosh, like that's hard. Like I've had several clients, like they've had jobs that require them to work a ton of hours, like where I've even told them, like point blank, I'm like, look, I don't know how you're going to lose the weight with this lifestyle. Like, I just don't know how you're going to do it. Like you sit too much because between sitting and sleeping, you only have like 2 hours a day of mobility. That's not enough. I mean, you can only solve this with food, and that is hard to do when you're just sitting still, idle. And so I think for some people, and like, for example, I'm thinking of a few people that were lawyers, they have no choice. They have to do this career. They have $300,000, $200,000 in student loans. You have to have a job that commands an income that can pay that back. And so in that case, I'm like, yeah, I mean, it sort of sucks, but like, I don't know. You might have to use a GLP-1 to help give you that boost. That's very possible. The other, well, before we go to the other reasons why I think a person might benefit from a GLP-1, let's take a look at the comments and see if anybody else has chimed in about the GLP-1s. Let me see here. For me, I don't like the idea of being subscribe to a thing in order to lose weight, but if it helps others, I have no judgment. Yeah. I mean, I do think that, like, we have to think of it. I mean, yeah. I mean, that makes a lot of sense. And I think it's always going to be a deeply personal decision that a person's going to make. Let's see. Yes, part of the struggle is also the chair-to-chair lifestyle as well as the food. Walking has helped me lose weight so much easier. Yeah, we've got to break that chair-to-chair lifestyle because that contributes to the weight gain. And a GLP-1 doesn't make a person magically want to go move more. It just doesn't do that. Let's see. I didn't think I was an emotional eater that much until I gained 15 pounds in 3 months after an extremely stressful work situation. After successfully losing 80 pounds. So I agree with the emotional eating part. Yeah, this is very normal. A lot of people, that is emotional eating. If you get real stressed and you gain 15 pounds, there's emotional eating or emotional sitting or both that are coming up there. So a couple other situations where I think a person might be a great candidate for GLP-1s, in my personal opinion. It's those with additional conditions or factors that outweigh the benefits of going slow. So I'm a big proponent of losing weight slowly and steadily. Like, I think 30 to 40 pounds in a single year is a solid year, just a rock solid kick-ass year. Like, that is a great year. But that means if a person needs to lose 150, 200 pounds, like, they may be losing weight for 4 years. I don't think that's actually really healthy to do that. There's a lot of benefits to going that slow. But what if there's another factor? Like, let's say a person, let me think of one that I've seen a couple times recently. A female getting a little bit older and they're wanting to get pregnant and their weight is a contributing factor. And so they're actually fighting against a biological clock. And they're like, I can't afford to take 4 or 5 years. Like, I can't afford major setbacks. I need to get this consistency. Okay, I kind of get it. I kind of get it, right? Maybe there's a surgery a person needs and like I have to lose weight. Like this surgery, like maybe I need a knee replacement surgery. Well, that knee replacement surgery is going to help the person be more mobile, but they can't get the knee replacement surgery until they lose weight, but they're not mobile, so they need that help. Like the benefits of going slow are kind of outweighed by the benefits of getting the surgery. And so, okay, go on the GLP-1, right? And so I think I can think of there's several different types of situations where the benefits of losing the weight quickly or without any setbacks just far outweigh the benefits of going slow. But going slow is really important. I think for the majority of people, going slow is better to do that. I also think there's another group of people that have another condition that is complicating weight loss, maybe an autoimmune condition. And I've seen this where it makes it tremendously difficult. I'm not saying that you need to for sure. I've seen also many people in these situations are like, I'm just going to lose weight slow, and that's okay. Because even with these other factors, you usually can lose weight. It's just going to be slow. So the other condition where I think it makes sense to go on a GLP-1 is when a person has done all the basics. They are exercising, they're walking, they're dealing with their food, they're making the lifestyle shifts, and they're still experiencing major setbacks. I have worked with some people whose emotional eating runs really deep. It is beyond so I think of emotional eating as a spectrum. You have very benign forms like mindless eating, boredom eating. That's not usually what makes a person 200 pounds overweight, 150 pounds. To the very extreme other ends where you have like binge eating disorder, where it's an actual disorder. But there's this very problematic middle where it's not necessarily a disorder, but is very problematic. I'm talking about people where it slants even closer to the disorder spectrum, where there's some real mental health things. And so this is where they may need that extra boost. And so here's where I think of GLP-1s much in the same way I think of mental health medication. So I take now 2 medications, but like I've been on Adderall off and on for since I was 25, 25. So I'm 41, right? Yeah, I'm 41, 40. I forgot how old I am. Am I 41 or 40? Whatever. I'm one or the other. So I have not taken Adderall all the time. Currently I do. But what I find is I take Adderall once I'm doing the basics, or if my symptoms are becoming so disruptive that I can't get the basics under control. I don't take the medication at the expense of the basics. There's a lot of basic life management things that can keep my ADHD tendencies where I can work through them. But sometimes I'm working extremely hard just to be at a neurotypical baseline. And that's just taxing to do. And I'm on an SSRI. That's a new thing. And same thing. Like I'm already doing all the basics. And I just need that little extra boost. And I'm not looking to do the boost at the expense of the basics, at the expense of the general things that I should be doing. It's like, no, this is meant to be done in addition to all these other things. And whether the medication I'm on it or not, I'm still going to do all the other things. And so for some people, I do think it's okay and maybe helpful to use a GLP-1, but I really think you should be doing the basics first. Start walking. Start doing some basic, simple exercises. Start staying on top of your sleep. Sleep is so damn important, people. Gosh, I can't tell you how important sleep is. Start making changes to the foods that you buy, that you bring into your home. Start curating your environment in a way to set it up for success and balance. Start changing the kinds of content that you take in. Start interacting with different people around food. These are some of the basics, for example. I don't think a person should just jump to a GLP-1 as the first line of defense. I think it should be something a person should be escalated to. Just like in my opinion, I don't think a person should jump to like an SSRI as a first line of defense. I think they should try other things, which might include therapy. I think many people, they don't need a GLP-1 as much as they need a professional. And a personal trainer is not a weight loss specialist. That's the other thing. I think a lot of people don't understand what kind of specialist they need. Yes, I am one of those kinds of people that do weight loss. But many people, they're like, well, I need to go to the gym and go to a personal trainer to help me. Like they're not always experts in weight loss. Oh, I should go to a therapist. Therapists aren't always experts in emotional eating. Now, a therapist that specializes in emotional eating obviously is what you're looking for. A personal trainer that also specializes in obesity related weight loss is obviously what you're looking for. You know, a person that needs to lose 10 or 20 pounds and they've just slowly crept up, that's a very different situation than a person that's 150 pounds overweight with a chronic history of yo-yo dieting. Very different problems, very different skill sets, very different solutions. And so I think a lot of times a person might be, and your doctor isn't a weight loss specialist. Your doctor just knows you need to lose weight, and now they're able to prescribe a medication that can alter your behavior. But often doctors aren't the experts for weight loss. And that's the other thing that's really important to remember. So I think, you know, a lot of times before a person jumps to a GLP-1, they might consider hiring a person to help them make the behavioral shifts that they need to make. So those are several of the situations where I think it makes sense to take a GLP-1. Now, I thought we would talk about some advice for those that are considering going on a GLP-1. So the first one is, if you've got to be honest with yourself. If you're going to go on it forever or not, you've got to be, because it's going to impact the strategy. If you're not going to be on it forever, you need to be doing different things when you're losing weight. If you're going to be on it forever, well, then you can do different things. Like again, see the case I gave earlier of a person that's older. Yeah. Okay, cool. You're going to be on it for 10 years. You know, that's fine. If you're not going to be on a GLP-1 forever, you must make lifestyle changes. If you're not going to be on it forever, you have got to get into an exercise routine. Everybody needs to do it. But if you're not going to be on it forever, you've got to do it. Don't go, I'll lose all the weight, then I'll start exercising. No, you probably won't. You got to start exercising as quick as possible, because you got to figure out how to integrate it into your life. You got to start getting a walking habit. The other thing is, if you are not going to go on it forever, you must be mentally prepared to do the work of learning how to listen to your hunger when you come off of it. You are not going to magically not be hungry. You are not going to magically not have food noise. You are going to. It is a normal human condition thing. It is normal. It is normal to want food. Yes, some people want it slightly more than others. Yes, this is true. But you're going to have to learn to do the work. And for many people, what is going to happen if you go on a GLP-1 and you plan to come off of it, for many, not all, but many, you're going to come off of it. You're going to start gaining weight back while you do the work, and then you will re-lose the weight without the GLP-1. That's why, in my personal opinion, I think if you're going to lose weight with the GLP-1, you should come off of it before all the weight is off, and then finish the journey without it. Is my opinion as it currently sits today. I think that's a good way to do it. If you plan to come off of it, right? I don't think a person should plan to come off of it after. I think do it earlier. Because then you can be dealing with, it kind of forces you to deal with some things in a different way. Now, you just got to be ready. You have to mentally prepare yourself. Now, if you're not going to come off the medication, if you're like, no, I plan to go on it and stay on it forever, just make sure you're staying on top of exercise and protein. When a person goes on a GLP-1, they often are not consuming enough protein. And this can create an entirely new problem, which in many ways can be worse than being overweight, is becoming under-muscled. Because when you lose the muscle, gaining it back takes work. And so maintaining muscle mass requires protein, which is the building blocks, and stimulus. So you have to use the muscle so the body's like, hey, we're using it. And then it needs protein so the body can maintain it. If you don't give it enough protein, the body's like, we're not getting enough protein to maintain this muscle. Reduce muscle mass. If you're not using it, the body's like, we're not going to maintain all this muscle mass. We ain't using it. So you have to give it the stimulus and you have to give it the protein. Doing the both of those is going to be really, really the thing. That you got to pay attention to. The other thing is if you're going to go onto a GLP-1, do not treat it like it's some sort of magical silver bullet. It isn't. It is not a silver bullet. It is not going to solve everything. It is not. But on the flip side of that, it 100% is a shortcut when it comes to dealing with hunger. GLP-1s are 100% a shortcut. It is the easy way when you're dealing with hunger because it just takes the fight away. You just don't have to do it. It's just not a fight. It is not a struggle. It is not anything you have to learn and work through. It's like going on testosterone. Easy to gain muscle with testosterone. Super easy. It is not the same thing as it'd be like comparing a person who is lifting weights, person who's on testosterone, and a person who isn't. It is not a fair comparison. It is a shortcut. It is. You still have to lift weights. You still have to eat protein. You still have to get sleep. You still have to recover. You still have to train. You still got to do all the same things as the person not on testosterone. You just get this extra boost. And so with a GLP-1, you still got to eat less. You still got to, stay into that calorie deficit. You just don't have to worry about hunger. You don't have to deal with it at all. You don't got to focus on it at all. If you want to get healthy, you still got to make changes and eat healthy, to improve your health. If you want to get in shape, you still got to go work out. If you still want to maintain the weight, you still got to make permanent lifestyle shifts. But a GLP-1, you won't be hungry. And you didn't have to learn how to manage your hunger. There's just no hunger to manage, right? You just don't have to manage it. So those are some of my thoughts on a GLP-1. For anybody considering joining my programs, whether you're on a GLP-1 or not, they work because we work on everything holistically. But it does make it difficult to work on the hunger thing. Like, for example, my free program, my Kickstart program is based in learning to listen to your hunger. That's what this is based in. And so if you're wanting to learn to lose weight and you don't want to use a GLP-1 and you want to jumpstart the work of listening to your hunger, or maybe you're coming off of a GLP-1 and you want to start the work of listening to your hunger, you can head on over to becomingthin.com. You can take the free course and you can get a taste of what that's like. Also, if you're new here and don't know, you can listen to the Becoming Thin podcast on all your podcasting platforms. I have not posted an episode in like a month because it's been personal R&R month for Chris. And also I have my daily coaching program, which is taking up so much of my time, which I've been greatly loving doing that. Hey, I hope you guys have enjoyed this live stream. I know I haven't been interacting with you much. I really wanted to just sort of get all this covered and do an update here. If you don't mind if you've enjoyed this, hitting the like button, that does help with YouTube as well. I would appreciate that. Tell me in the comments down below what your thoughts are about GLP-1s, if you're using them, what made you decide to, if you're not, what's making you not. I think the biggest thing to remember is there's no right or wrong universally. You have to make your own decisions. My biggest thing is I want everybody that's using them to be making an informed decision. That's the most important part to me. Be informed on whatever decision it is that you're going to make. All right. Have a great day. And I will see you all next week. Bye.